Hi everyone, this is Alex Mikas from Proto-Nerds. Welcome to my unscripted behind-the-scenes video about how I made the Uber app for Proto.io Spaces. Okay, we're into my Proto.io account here, and we've loaded up my Uber prototype. And what I'm showing you right now is the main screen. It's called the home screen. Now, what's interesting about my Uber app is that it only has 3 screens. So let's take a look at all the screens right here in the window. We have the launch screen, which is the easiest screen that I ever created for this app. It's basically a screen capture from the Uber app using my Android. Of course, there's the status bar. And there's a bit of scripting here that this shows up for a couple seconds, then it goes directly to the main home screen. So we can see that scripting and the interactions. Every single screen has a special unique interactions feature that has special interactions that are related to screens. And you can see here's an interaction right here, and you can see that the trigger is, they're not the typical triggers that the user does with tapping. They're basically things like screen before show, screen before hide, screen show, screen hide. Of course, there are some key down ones as well, and of course orientation change, which is kind of cool. But that's a subject for another day. So let's get into the main meat and potatoes of the app. Now, people may find it kind of strange why I did this app on only one screen, and the reason why I did it was because there was a unique bug with the animation system that I had to overcome, and I had used the traditional method of animation, and what I was animating was 17 different unique vehicles for Uber. So there's 4 UberX cars, 5 UberX cars, 4 black cars, 4 SUVs, and 4 the yellow taxis. So in essence, you have 17 cars that are animated at the same time. So I'll take a look at that container to show you what I'm talking about. Type in map here in the handy dandy container area, and we'll see all the various vehicles here. Now, you only see the initial UberX cars because that's what comes on the screen at the first initially when it loads up. So all the other cars are currently not visible because I've taken the opacity right down. So that's the way it has to be, because when you first load up the app, all you see is the UberX car. So you don't want to see all the cars because that wouldn't be how the app actually works. But you notice that you're asking yourself probably, what are these small little graphical elements here, these blue items? They're basically animation targets. So the current way to do animation, and which is recommended by Proto.io, is using states. But I use the initial way to do it because I was doing a lot of intensive scripting of rotation and turns and stuff like that. So I tried to do that, and I found there was a little bug that came afterwards that when you were switching screens with using the old animation way, the cars would sometimes fly off the screen. So that apparently that bug has now been fixed. But I had spent so much time into the app that I didn't want to go back and rescript it all, because each one of these cars has been painstakingly scripted. So just showing you that right here. So one of the things I want to talk about right now is the whole concept of staging. We're looking at the main screen here, and as you can see that the sidebar menu that comes in the options menu is set off to the left. So you can store all kinds of graphical assets and interactions, even like this one over here, off anywhere off the side of the screen. So as you can see in the bottom here, I have the slide up area. When you press on the actual buttons in the footer menu, these graphical elements will slide up. So we have it at the very lowest magnification there, so you can actually see this. So let's take it back to something a little bit more reasonable. There we go. One of the things I want to talk about briefly is the complexity of an app like this. This app took me at least 120 hours to do. And it may seem kind of shocking that it took so long, but halfway through the app, Uber decided to change its look. So one day I actually updated the app on my Android, and I found out, wow, they completely changed the whole app. So I wanted to release something that was current. So this took probably an extra 20 hours just to get all the graphical assets up to date. So that was a major obstacle. But as you can see here, there's a lot of stuff going on. Each one of these is a container, and this is just the main screen. So this app, it's actually a prototype, has a total of 300 plus actual assets, and there's 90 containers. So and each container is full of interactions as well. So this is a pretty complicated app. And to the point earlier that I was making about having everything on one screen, having everything on one screen is really problematic, because as you can see, this is what it looks like. It's really hard to tell what is going on, so you really have to know your app to understand what's going on. So I do not recommend doing anything on one screen. I did it because I really had to. I invested so much time in that I would have lost the time if I would have used the other animation system using states. But for organizational purposes, if you can do it, use as many different screens as possible. So let's take a look at some of the containers right now. One of the ones I want to show you is the footer container. This is the meat and potatoes of the whole app, and where a lot of the time was spent with developing the logic and the scripting with JavaScript. So let's look at the footer container here, and you can see that here is basically the guts and the essence of this whole app. And there's the UberX area here where this basically a button that the user can drag. You can go to UberX, black car, SUV, and taxi. So, and what's interesting about the Uber app is that when you take the actual button and you drag it, it snaps to the closest area. So there's 4 different areas it can snap to. So you have to be able to calculate that because you want it to snap back. So currently Proto.io does not support this. It's something I had to manually create and script myself. So that was the interesting about Uber. I wanted to see if I could pull this off, and I did pull it off. So I'm very, very happy with what we achieved here. But let's take a look at some of the scripting behind this. And this is the scripting on the button container, and there's a container beyond this as well. So look at the different interactions that are happening here. We have on drag set the variables, on drag hide the white button, on drag show the white button, on drag center and move pop-ups. I mean, there's so much going on here. And the thing about Proto.io is that it's an immensely powerful tool. But the whole idea is you want your apps and your prototypes to look amazing and like basically as easy to use and as elegant and simple as possible. But the fact of the matter is that behind the scenes there's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, it's a very powerful tool, but there's a lot going on. And what the thing is too, and the bigger your project gets, the more exponential the amount of work that gets in, because each one of these assets is like little children running around. They need to be taken care of. They need to be dealt with. They need to be turned off, turned on. So let's take a look at one interaction to show you what's kind of going on here. So the on drag set variables. Let's look at this variable name right here. On drag, you can see the different number of variables I'm using in the project. It's probably about 30 different variables. Now this here is a new value for a custom value. So I just want to show this to you, and let's just highlight this and just keep going to the right, and you'll see the size of this. That sucker is really, really, really long, and I got some assistance with the logic thanks to the good folks at support. Akis and Anna are both wonderful and amazing talented people at Proto.io support. So they were really helpful in helping me determine the logic. But going through the logic of this would be actually another complete video and a whole new tutorial unto itself, because it is kind of complicated, and these kind of things aren't really for the novice user, because there's a lot of Boolean logic and going on. If this is true, then do this. So likely powerful Proto.io is very powerful and can achieve this sort of thing, but you have to really know what you're doing and really plan out these things in advance. So there's a lot of planning involved in figuring out this whole scheme to basically make the button, when you drag the button, it would snap back into one of 4 different locations, each representing one of the Uber cars. Let's take a look at some of the other footers that I've created. There's the taxi footer here, and you can see this how it works basically, and the SUV, UberX. Well, that's pretty much basically it that I want to cover. This week we go on forever going through every single interaction and all the assets, but I just wanted to give folks an idea of kind of what is behind the scenes in a really complicated prototype, and there's a lot going on. And So it's good for everyone to get a chance to take a look at the sort of the things that happen here. And I have written a blog article on my website, www.protonerds.com. Check that out, and you can see the sort of logic and the sort of thought process and the motivations as to why I wanted to create the Uber app, and the different challenges that I overcame as I went down the whole journey making it. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope this has been somewhat instructional and informative, and I do appreciate it. And if you ever need someone to create a prototype for you, just check us out at www.protonerds.com. We'd be happy to give some assistance. Take care. Thanks very much. Bye.